I think it's important for Canadian students to learn about their own history for a lot of different reasons. I think that learning Canadian history gives them a sense of an understanding of their own identity, a sense of their belonging. I think that students who know their history have an appreciation for the complexities of history. Canada is an incredible country that has such a diverse history that represents the stories of so many people, beginning with the First Nations people in this country, many, many waves of immigration, and that they themselves, as 21st century Canadian students, have a role to play in the development of our own history. I think it's really important for Canadian students to recognize that there's a multitude of perspectives that are available for us to learn from a First Nations elder, to a community member, to even digging in their grandparents' closet and feeding upon conversations even around the dinner table. That's the way I learned history as a young Canadian. Learning Canadian history is a gateway for students to appreciate and understand the diversity of our country. We are a country that is based on multiculturalism, and as new waves of immigrants continue to settle in our great country, it is important that those stories are added to the narrative that all of us will understand in the future. And history is an excellent way for students to be able to see themselves reflected in that history. And when they are not reflected, it is their opportunity to be able to challenge that. I often say as a teacher that it's important for students to see themselves reflected in the curriculum and for teachers to provide opportunities for students to do so. If their voices are not heard, then the gateway must be open for those students to challenge the narrative, to engage in inquiry-based learning, and to really ask the questions that matter to them. So as a Canadian history teacher, every day I challenge my students to consider what kind of ancestors they want to be. Over the many hundreds of years of Canadian history, dating back to the times of the First Nations people who first lived on this land, and through the many waves of immigration over the years, we have so many exemplars of the ways in which Canadians have showed courage, have showed inspiration, have showed innovation, have really had an impact on the development of our society. Not all of it has been positive. Some of it has left us with lots of questions about how we might make improvements to our society. But I challenge them to consider that if they are going to be those that are going to leave the pathway for the future in showing us how they can leave their mark, I challenge them to think about what kind of legacy they will leave as Canadian citizens and as those that are learning of Canadian history.